good, rejoicing, beautiful creatures. I mean, creators. Now, today, I want to talk to you about letters, words, and spells, or spelling. The magical power of words, or as I like to call it, word magic. Woo! So, to start this off, I just want to say, hey, thanks for joining me once again. And I hope you've all been knowing love, growing love, and showing love. Now, some of you might have noticed I have a little thing for words. Some people might call it a crush. Some might call it a fetish. Call it whatever you like. I'm not ashamed. I'm a word man. They're my thing. They've always fascinated me. Like, I remember being a young child and hearing a word that I didn't know, and hearing it for the first time and fantasizing to myself about all the different possibilities of what it could be or what it was used for, and wondering how it got its name, this envelope. I had no idea what it was, but I'm sure whatever it was, if I could fit in it, I could travel the world. Or I remember when I was a child, and and remember when you're young, your parents were like, "Shh, the news is on." Or quick, we got to get home, watch the news. And I remember thinking, what is this important thing I always hear about called the news? What are we always rushing home to watch it for? And then you watch it and you're like, really? Is that it? You can't be serious, right? Weird to stop shaving Arnold's sister's pet guinea pig for that? Come on, what a joke. And you get older and you realise that the news is just as scripted and staged as any other TV show. It doesn't give you any valuable knowledge. It just gives you the opinions it wants you to form and the stories about what's new around the world for the day, hence the news. Or you might look at the word news, News, right? And you might start to wonder, is that an acronym for something? And does each letter represent a category in the order of which it is presented? Notable events, NE, weather, sport. Exactly the way it gets presented in the newspaper. I remember when I was a little child, I said to Dad, I asked my dad, "Dad, why do they call it the news?" He said, "Shut up, I'm watching the news." Anyway, get a little sidetracked here. Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you about words and how they are magic. Now this is a very wide-ranging and in-depth subject, but luckily it's one of my favourite. So hopefully I can break this down into something that we can understand, or at least make sense. Because when things make no sense, it's nonsense. It's in the word, nonsense. So fingers crossed, right? So to really begin to understand the magic of words, I'll start by breaking it down into what makes up a word, and that will give us a basic understanding of what they are and how words are made. Okay, so what is a word? A word is made up of individual letters combined in various ways to make up a word. So let's start with letters of the alphabet. We call it the alphabet. The alphabet got its name from the beginning letters of the Greek alphabet: alpha, beta, gamma, alphabet. And the Greek alphabet is just one of the many sources of where the English alphabet was derived. And the English alphabet consists of 26 letters, 21 consonants, and 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. And we use these individual letters to create words, and this process is called spelling. Now you think it would be called wording, since that's what we're doing. We're making words. But no, it's called spelling. Now, the only people we get told that use spells are magicians. Why didn't they tell us we're all magicians? Since we're all using letters to spell. Or simply, why haven't we realised that at least? Why haven't we realised that in ourselves, Because we spell every day, just like a magician would do. But I'll keep going. Letters. What even are letters? Now, letters, when written, are just symbols. For example, have you noticed the capital letter B looks like breast? Or the letter C. C looks like a crescent moon. D, shaped like a dome, but on its side. You know, an S looks like a snake. An M looks like a mountain. A T looks like a top. A V looks like a valley. And the letter W, well, that looks like two V's. You know, yet we call it a W. Man, the French actually got it right. They call it the W, you know, meaning double V in English. Now we have lowercase letters and uppercase or capital letters. So we have two different versions of each single letter. But what else is a letter? You know, isn't a letter something you write to someone? You know, dear so-and-so. You know, and you write a heap of words down on paper. And when we put these words, when we put them together, they're called sentences. But then you fold that paper, put it in an envelope, lick a stamp, bang it on it, shove it in a post box, mail it off. Isn't that a letter? Or also, couldn't a letter be someone who lets? A letter. Someone who lets or allows. You know? Or we could even break it down more phonetically. You know, letter, letter, let her. Let who? Let her. Her as in mother. Let her as in Mother Nature, Mother Earth. Let her as in the universe. Let the universe. So right there I gave you 3 examples of what a letter is, right? Except we only spell it one way and we say it one way. Yet there are 3 completely different things it could be. You know, how can one thing, for example the word letter, be 3 completely different things? You know, we've got letter, letter, letter. All said and spelled exactly the same. Yet one is a letter of the alphabet, one is something we write to someone, and one is someone who allows or lets. You know, if one thing can be 3 completely different and unrelated things, well then that's magic. Well, it is if you ask me. I mean, what a magical thing it must be. This word letter to be 3 completely different and unrelated things. So I hope now you're starting to see the magical component here, right? Now, did you notice how when we combine words together, they are called sentences? Of all the things it could be called, it's called sentences. Now, why is that? You know, what type of people get sentences? Criminals? Prisoners? You know, some people are serving life sentences. Some people are even sentenced to death. Some just get sentenced to jail. Or sentenced to the pen. The jail pen. Now, it's an interesting choice of words right there, isn't it? And the truth is, just like prisoners are sentenced to the pen, we are also sentenced by the pen. Because that's exactly why they're called sentences. Because we sentence ourselves with our sentences. And this should become a lot more clearer to you as we move on. Right now, in ancient Eastern philosophy, they believed that every letter in the alphabet was a magical symbol. Because each letter was created based on sacred geometry and sacred sounds. And all the combinations of letters to form words were magical patterns. Now, in ancient Indian philosophy, they took it even further. You know, they believed that each individual letter was a living deity, a living god. And when these individual gods are combined to make up words, magic happens. Because now, different sounds are produced. You know, even though a sound is produced when we pronounce individual letters, the combination of these individual gods together make their power even more potent. And there is definitely some power behind words. You know, I mean, what do you think people say, I give you my word? Or you have my word? You know, people would rather die than break their word. There's a massive sense of power right there. You know, that's because your word is your bond. It's your guarantee. It's your honor. You know, you would honor your word rather than break it. So right there, it shows you that there's much power behind the word. Now, we use these words to create sentences, you know, and we use words to make up sentences and letters to make up words. And using letters to make words is called spelling. And using words to creates these things called sentences. So what we're talking about, spells and sentences. This is what this is all about. You know, so what is a spell? We know what sentences are, so what is a spell? I'll give you a few definitions of what a spell actually is. Right? A spell is an incantation or a set of words, spoken or unspoken, in a particular sequence or order, which are considered by the user to invoke a magical effect. Now let's clear this up. What does invoke mean? Well, let's break it down. In and voke. In refers to inner, and voke is short for vocalize. It's similar to the word provoke. You know, pro, forward or outward, and voke, vocalize, to vocalize outwardly. Now back to that definition of spell. A spell is a set of words, spoken or unspoken, in a particular sequence or order, which are considered by the user to invoke a magical effect. And it also says in that definition, to put a spell on someone is to control or influence people as though one has a magical power over them. Now you must be thinking, words don't have magical powers over people. Oh really? Freeze. Duck. You know, stop. Just kidding. Bad example. But you know, here's a better one. What about when you're walking along somewhere, say you're in your local botanical gardens and you see a sign that says keep off the grass. You know, most of us, we would probably keep off that grass. You know, so you can see right there how words can be used to influence people, influence you to stay off that grass. Or another example, a stop sign. I bet you'll stop at a stop sign. You know, so you can see how words can be used to control or at least influence people. What about the definition of what a spell is in relating to words, as in to spell words? What to spell is to form a word or words with letters in the correct sequence or order. Interesting. Both nearly identical in their definitions, except for the invoke a magical effect part. Now, as we're learning to pronounce and spell words, we must also learn to write words. So let's ask, what is a write? You know, we have write, W-R-I-T-E, as in to write words, but what is a write, R-I-T-E? The definition of a rite is as follows. Rite is a ritual, a ceremony, usually religious, and you know, it's a ceremony performing actions in a correct sequence. So when we are writing, we are actually performing the action of a ritual of casting a spell, because that's what we are doing, spelling. Now let me say that again. When we are writing, we are actually performing the action of a ritual of casting a spell, because that is what we are doing. We are spelling. It's right there in the words and their meanings. So, where do we go to learn these rituals and cast these spells? We go to school. And who teaches us how to perform this magic? Our teachers. You know, I bet most teachers out there are completely unaware of how magical their job really is. You know, to teach people how to perform magic spells. So let's look at what a teacher is. You know, the definition of to teach. You know, to teach is to impart knowledge or skill, and also to help others acquire knowledge. Now, something you may not have thought about, but Jesus was also a teacher. You know, we always hear that Jesus was a carpenter, but you know, we seem to forget, first and foremost, he was a teacher. You know what I mean? Like, they wrote a book about what he taught, yet no one kept any of the things he built. You know what I mean? So how good of a carpenter was he? Must be a better teacher, you know? And what did Jesus teach? And what knowledge did he spread? Jesus spread the word. Let me say that again. Jesus spread the word of God. You start to see it's been right there in front of our face the whole time. You know, the Bible has been telling us this about the power of words all along. It's been right in front of our eyes. But not everyone has the eyes to see it. You know, and since we're on the Bible, it's also one of my favorite subjects for some reason. You know, I don't go to any churches or nothing. I just enjoy a good read, you know. But in the Bible, in the Gospel according to John, the very opening lines of that section of the book says, "In the beginning was the Word. That Word was with God, and that Word was God." Boom. Like that tells you, words of God. You know, the ancient Indian philosophers had it right all along. Still not convinced? Well, let's go to the very first book of the Bible, Genesis. Chapter 1. At the very beginning, when God was creating the heavens and the earth, it says, "Then God said, let there be light." And there was light. Boom. Now, how did God create this place? He spoke it into existence. Let there be light. And there was light. You know? And just like God, we speak our world into existence. And since we are creating our world the same way God did, by talking, we need to remember that when we are talking, we should be the talking. You get me? Talking. And when we are asking, how should we behave? We should be as king. It's right there in the word. Now, Jesus also said in the Bible, "The words I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life." Words are spirit, words are life. Just marinate on that for a little bit. Jesus has been telling us for centuries the same thing I'm trying to explain to you. And not to compare myself with the big guy, but I do call myself God's favourite son, you know. And words are spirit and words are life. Our words have spirit and our words have life. I hope you're seeing the connection, right? Anyway, back to the teachers. Now, the teachers who teach us, they're called the staff. They're the staff, right? Now, I'll share with you a few definitions of what a staff is. You know, is a staff like a long stick, you know, used to support, like when you're hiking? Or is it a rod or scepter, held as a sign of authority? Like a wand? A magician's wand, perhaps? Or is it something a bit more sinister, like a staph infection, a poisoning? Has it come into contact with some contamination? A contamination that could be promoting infection, perhaps? Promoting an infection like we've been cursed. What is a curse? And why do we have curse words? Or swear words? If words can curse, then surely words can bless. Well, let's look at the different definition of what a curse is. A curse is a formula or charm used to wish a formula or charm used to wish misfortune on someone else. And it's also the act of reciting that formula or charm. So a curse is not only the formula of words, it is the act of reciting those words, talking, asking. We also get told not to swear and use swear words. Then we might get a bit older, might find ourselves in a bit of trouble, might have to go to court. What do they make people do? They make you swear on the Bible. Swear on the Bible? Like, really? Like, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, when we swear on the Bible, in what context are we using the swear word? The word swear. You know, is it a verb or is it a noun? There's a big difference in the way in which we use those words, depending on if it's a verb or a noun or not. Now, you might want to clear that up first before you go and swear on the Bible. You know, they want us to swear on the Bible and to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The whole truth? Like the truth with a hole in it? I swear to God, you couldn't make this stuff up. I swear on my life. And those two uses of the word swear then were nouns, just to clarify, alright? You know, it's an oath. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. I mean, the word sword is just the word words with the S at the beginning instead of at the end. So what's the connection between the two? Well, a sword can only inflict damage to someone on a physical level. But words can inflict damage on multiple levels. Mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. Now, some ancient cultures believe that words are so powerful that they never die. That words go on as a rate of vibration forever. It will live long after its echo has disappeared. And the words we speak are a sound that is a part of life. An eternal part. You know, every time we say a word that is destructive, it adds to the burdens and misery of the world. All destructive vibrations continue, And every negative vibration destroys part of the natural harmony of life. And as long as we display destructive words that can cause destructive emotions, such as anger, hatred, jealousy, we also have to pay for those words, for those moods in the forms of sickness and misery. Because remember, all energy must return to source. Now, just as negative words continue forever, the positive, loving words also never die. The use of good words accumulate. The loving, the helpful, the hopeful words live on and they give us blessings. Now I want you to stop and think about if the words you speak are cursing or blessing you. Not just yourself, but the rest of us as well. Are you putting people down or are you building people up? Are they constructive or destructive? Are your statements proclaiming a life of abundance or a life of lack? A life of fulfillment or a life of disappointment? You see people, the very fact of the matter is words make up our world. And words is something which we have the power to create. And it does not die after it is created. They are immortal. Your words make up your world. Actually, let me rephrase that. Our words make up our world. And if you're not convinced, take a look around. Take a real good look around. Because every single thing that you can see, and I mean everything you can see, has a word for it. And here is a little deeper wisdom for you too. I bet everything you can see, when your light just went out, I bet you everything you can see, has a purpose. The phone, the TV, the couch, the door, the window, the curtain, everything you can see has a purpose. What makes you think you would be different? If everything you can see has a purpose, then of course you do. You can see yourself, right? You can see yourself. That means you have to have one too. And it's up to you to connect with yourself to find out what that is. You see, of all the things you create, of all the things you see create our world, without words, there would be nothing. No thing. Nothing. Words make up our entire existence. Words create the world. Name something that exists that we don't have a word for. It's impossible. It's impossible. So now you're starting to see how powerful they are. The word is the world. Remember when God said that there be light, and then light came? See, there was a word for light. He said it, then it appeared. He didn't go, oh look, there's something, let's call it light. You see, the words we speak are a potent form of magic within the universe, because the act of speaking creates physical energy. Speech uses sound waves, and to increase the power of your words, we can attach intention and emotion to them. And that emotional emotion will charge those words, give it more power. One last thing I nearly forgot to mention. What do we call the set of rules or principles that set the guidelines for this system we use to structure words together? In their correct sequence to form sentences. It's grammar. Grammar. And where does the word grammar come from? The word grimoire. And what is a grimoire? A book of spells. There you have it, folks. The grammar, which gives us our guidelines so we can spell and sentence correctly, is a grimoire. It's our book of spells. It gives us our rules so we can cast a spell correctly. And what is the definition of cast a spell? Or how to cast a spell? Well, to cast a spell is to cast magic or magnetic energy into the world. Cast like a net. Because the word magic is the word magnetic without the net in it. So if casting a spell is to cast magic or magnetic energy into the world, isn't that what we're doing every single time we speak? Isn't that what we're doing every single time we write? Casting energy into the world? You bloody little magicians, hey? Running around your whole life performing magic without even knowing it. Words are magic, I told you. And if I could sum up everything I just spoke about and give a definition of spelling or word magic, since we're all magicians, as I like to call it, I would say word magic is the art of communicating using sacred symbols, letters, and sounds to direct and control energy to produce certain desired effects. Remember, our alphabet system was created based on sacred geometry and sacred sounds. Therefore, letters really do have magical properties. Well, I hope that makes sense. So if it doesn't, it's nonsense. It gives you a little deeper understanding, or should I say inner standing, not understanding, into the magical nature of words and the power they contain and how much they can affect or everything, our own health and all the health of this beautiful world. And this was just a little introduction on words and their magic, and I'll be sharing more on this subject over the course of my videos. Because once you begin to notice the magic of words, you'll begin to notice the magic of this reality. And once you notice the power of words, you'll begin to notice the true power you have over this reality. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it and you can take some knowledge with you. If you liked it, please show your support and like, share, subscribe. And I'm out of here. Don't forget, know love, show love, grow love. Peace.